Welcome, everybody, to day two, session three of FM Tech Week 2025. I'm Ed Buckley, and on behalf of the information technology community of IFMA, I want to thank you again for joining this virtual summit and series of sessions. So to close us out on day two, we've got a really exciting presentation on an issue that faces our industry and all of us as we're trying to implement technology, and that's integration of disparate sources of data. Pleased to bring along Gabe Veach and Mark Mayu. Mark is a solutions provider who brings together multiple solutions for the benefit of our industry, and Gabe is a seasoned technology expert who builds some of the tools that integrate the disparate sources of data that we've got and solves what I've now understand to be called the swivel chair problem. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Mark and Gabe. And maybe, Gabe, you can kick off with a quick overview of what's the swivel chair problem.
Yeah, that's a good introduction there, Ed, and appreciate you having us here and us talking about our solution. So yeah, what is the swivel chair problem? A lot of the folks in the FM industry, I know, handle multiple work orders, right, coming from multiple systems. So assuming you get work orders from, let's say, Corrigo or FEXA or Service Channel or Service Titan, handling those work orders, managing those work orders in a timely manner without having to go between two different systems is quite a challenge. And that's what we call the swivel chair problem. So you're essentially keying in a work order through one system that you're getting, and then having to rekey that into another system, let's say your project management tools. So what we're here to do and talk about today is how we help solve that problem between integrating those two different systems. So let me share my screen here, and we'll dive into it. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Again, my name is Gabe Veach. I'm with DevRabbit. We're a IT services company that focuses within not just facilities management, but property technology, and various other things that have to do within the facility management space. We've done multiple projects across multiple verticals, everything from assessments and roadmaps. So understanding what technologies you're using today, what some of the pain points are, if you're looking to upgrade or even utilize our services for helping you navigate what systems are out there, we can help you with that. Integrations. So as you know, there's multiple systems that I'm sure you're running, whether it's your ERP system, accounting systems, CRM, CMMS work order systems, and you want to make sure you have common workflows for those various systems. We can help you on integrations, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Other things we help with are implementations, custom implementations such as ServiceNow, Salesforce, and really any kind of system that you have out there that you're looking to implement. And lastly, a lot of people are looking at AI, and one of the key components of AI are these first two squares that you see, providing an assessment and integration, because you want to get the most out of that AI agent. So we help you with those types of tools. But let's dive into integrations today and that swivel chair problem. So what you see up here are multiple systems that you may or may not have. And these systems vary across different solutions that you may need for your accounting teams, or you may need for CRM, or you may need for your property management or facility management teams. This hopefully gives you a good idea of some of the systems that we've integrated already today. So I want to dive into the workflow here. This is typically what we'll see within an FM environment that is running various different systems that aren't integrated. So you'll receive a work order. It could be through email, could be through phone, could be through various client systems, right? Think FEXA, Service Channel, Corrigo, FM Pilot, those kind of various systems. And you're having to put that into, let's say, a project management tool that you have, or a source of truth, like an ERP type of system. And when you swivel chair, like we talked about before, there could be multiple issues. There could be a data error entry or data entry error. And what does this cause? It could be increased costs of service and service times and SLAs if you have the wrong information. There's going to be incorrect data, address, location, unnecessary truck rolls. And that flows on to the entire workflow of, paying out or charging out through invoicing, right? Could be incorrect email, contact person. This just requires this could require a lot of extra time, if you will. What we do is we automate these workflows. So you'll receive a work order, right? Like as we discussed through those various systems. We'll do our integration. I'll show you the tool on how to set that up. So now you're mapping that information from one system to another. So there's no human error that's involved in this. Thus, you're going to have better SLAs, technicians deployed to the right address, kind of avoid that unnecessary truck roll. And payout is going to be invoicing and closing out work orders are going to be a lot seamless. So what is it? So we have a connector tool that integrates these various systems. So it's essentially a tool that is visual. You don't need to really write a lot of code for this. It's a low code, no code integration platform that connects the various systems that we were talking to. You can schedule real-time sync, right, of the data, both one direction and bi-directionally. We handle any errors. So if there's any errors with that integration, for example, if there's any sort of API issues, we can solve that. We're going to audit and make sure all the logs and your work orders are flowing properly. Secure API authentication. So any sort of keys, any sort of two-factor authentication we're going to have as part of this platform. And then SLA monitoring, right? So we want to make sure the frequency of when you get this data is in line with how quickly you can turn around these work orders. So let me move out of the presentation here and out of the slides, and I'll show you how the system works. So let's take an existing integration today. We can just, do Corrigo and Microsoft, for example. Essentially, you're going to put in a you're going to give it a title, right? And what it is. So Corrigo to Dynamics. These are use cases that we've seen in the past. So I want to take a work order and put it into my Microsoft Dynamics system because that's where my source of truth is. And you would put that as your description. So next, what you want to do is you want to be able to take that API information and fill it out. So let's load in that API data from Corrigo. All this is doing is it's connecting to the API and collecting the data fields that we're going to need to map. So click next, and now we go to our source, which is going to be Microsoft Dynamics. We're going to load in that API information. Click next. And now we're going to do our mapping, our field mapping. So at this point, you can kind of manage which fields goes where. So from this is Corrigo mapped to Microsoft. If you want to go in here and it says short description, maybe it's not work details, but it's, work details asset with a comment. We can update that automatically. So you're not writing any code or anything like that to map the fields. This is all based off of the APIs that are provided, which makes it very easy to do. Click next. Now we want to have the frequency of when the data is actually going to get, of when you're going to sync the data. So we could do it, essentially every second, every minute, every hour, every day. Click next. Now we've established this integration, right? And typically it's in a test environment where we're going to test work orders coming from those systems and make sure that the data is mapped properly. Now, what's great about this solution or this platform is you can go in and get insights into your various work orders, right? So again, this is a sample. This is my my example, so you don't see any failed work orders. But if there were any failed work orders, we could actually tag that and it'll alert us, and we'll go in and we'll fix whatever the issue is. So instead of blindly just not knowing why the data is not integrating properly, we can go in there and we can look and see maybe the API has been updated, there's a patch, or maybe someone just put in the data in the wrong place. So that's important to have. What's also important is conditions and exceptions. So everyone has different workflows. You may have exceptions on certain work orders that you don't want to automate. Maybe there's locations that you don't want to automate that and you want to manually enter that. We can do that. Or exceptions around and conditions once a work order goes into a different state, right? Such as working, completing, or status. We can send that data back to its original work order information. And obviously, if there's no APIs, we can look at getting webhooks from your various systems. This allows you to really be flexible and get great insight into how your integration is actually working versus having to manually do that today. And we understand, right, the frustrations and even just how would I say it? If it's hard, sometimes it can be a little overcomplicated, and you don't even want to get kick-started with it, and you're just going to keep the manual way. We really want you all to know that there is a solution out there that we can help set up for you pretty easily, and it's not a lot of a heavy lift to provide your integration and get you better workflows, get you better SLAs. Let you add on more customers quicker, right? And not have to hire, more admins to support various systems. So, it's a very easy to use tool. We walk you through every step of the way in the early beginnings. We understand your workflow. We understand, your exceptions. We'll do a screen share with you. And typically at that point, we'll just set this up and we'll test out work orders. So we understand the space and helping you all out with that. So let me go back to my slides here. We had a customer construction company that offers facility management as part of their services for both contracts that are under warranty or out of warranty. And they were swivel chairing quite a bit. They had multiple systems that they were looking to connect to their Dataforma platform, which is their project management platform. And we helped them get set up in about 2 weeks, connecting Corrigo and other systems to Dataforma. They had approximately 10 admins that were managing swivel chairing between two different or multiple different systems. And they were spending, 2 to 3 hours extra per day. Their SLAs weren't doing that great. They were having key errors as part of their swivel chairing, and accounting was missed. And we were able to, with our solution, reduce that administrative work, decrease their entry errors, and made it a lot smoother for their technicians and their third-party vendors to get out there and get their work done. So it's like I said, there's lots of systems out there that I'm sure you're using. We're more than happy to set up some time and talk to you about what you're using and what pain points we can solve. Now I'd like to pass it over to Mark, who's going to be talking about one of the use cases that we helped him with on his recall management solution and how we connected his API with ServiceNow. Thank you.
Hey, Gabe, thanks. Hi, everyone. This is Mark. I'm a CEO, founder of Equiptrack, and we have a service called Recall Sentry. So I just want to talk to you guys really quick. Hopefully this worked. All right. In the healthcare space, a lot of our slides are in the healthcare space on this deck, but certainly we have many other inputs into our recall management system to help clients And as Gabe said, one of the reasons we're here is because every deployment that we would have would require an integration, and that's why we really partnered with DevRabbit, because they've really helped us a lot in terms of ServiceNow, that's for sure. So I'm just going to go through a couple of slides here just to kind of explain some of the little details about our service here. You may or may not be, again, our slides are in the focused on this deck on the healthcare industry. So you'll see some of that focus, but as we go through it, we pull many, there's a lot of sources of data that we pull from a lot of other systems to build our recall management service for folks. So we have about, let's see if I can play with this for a second here. Sorry, that's a little bit better. So we have around about 141,000 recall entries in our system right now, with over 6,000 equipment models. We have about around 12 skilled developers. I've been in the healthcare equipment and management industry for 15 years plus, and done a lot of medical equipment sourcing and consulting as well in my time. So I've been around the industry for quite some time, been a quality person, a director level for some mid-level companies for years before I kind of did Equiptrack. So let's see here. Some of our domain expertise, we'll go through this pretty quick, right? Six Sigma Black Belt, a lot of ISO work, quality management, of course, medical equipment sourcing, a lot of business process improvement, Six Sigma Black Belt, of course, again, and a lot of even hands-on equipment maintenance. So I've done the gamut of a lot of equipment type items, and certainly work orders and the need for process improvement, workflow, and clear path from a signal to do some kind of work and then completion of the work. We're associated with these are kind of the top three. Certainly, we have a lot of other associations in other industries, but AMI, HIMSS, and ASHE are kind of the top three. A lot of folks probably, I would imagine, have heard about them. So we're around in this industry. The current landscape, if you haven't been in the healthcare industry or a lot of these other industries, is that certainly in healthcare, you might get a signal to do work, which would be a recall for some of your equipment in your hospital. A lot of times it still comes as literally a paper copy of a notification or a recall. And that will be multiple different, it can be a lot of times, multiple different model names and model numbers and serial numbers for one recall. And so the big question in the current landscape for this is, well, then how do you get this data into your system to generate work orders? And so it's a big challenge, right? A lot of folks pass these documents around, but still you can never get to some of the details around. Again, you get stuck with, I have an asset list for my organization, and so how do I manage and pair up my assets on a daily basis for us with any recalls that would come in from Consumer Product Safety Commission, FDA, and other regulatory bodies. And so we kind of do that like I said, on a daily basis. So one example, again, in the healthcare industry is this particular recall for these electrical surgical units. There's some issues with the software. This recall covers 47,000 units. And our kind of quick example here is, you can have multiple units, multiple locations. What we do for Equiptrack and Recall Sentry is that we actually split all the recalls into, we have lower level data insights, right? So we have them by serial themselves. So then you have an asset list with serial numbers, and then we pair them through what we call recall match. And then we look and then generate work orders through, in this case, ServiceNow for hospitals and other folks. So again, as the slide says, right, we have cost multiple locations. As long as you just have the serial numbers in your system, we can easily recall match them with our system. Our kind of workflow before Equiptrack is, again, you have these high labor costs because you have to process the paper recalls. And even then, if you get an email from an OEM, still you have this issue with serial numbers. And then someone has to do this challenge with looking each one of them up, right? And so you have a high risk units not found, and as Gabe said before, right, this is another swivel chair challenge in a lot of other organizations in terms of looking around, trying to sort and search by serial number to find out what's affected, what's not affected, and how do you build a work order quickly from that, right? So you have some delays, a lot of processing costs due to the swivel chair issue and the volume of serial numbers and recalls in the system. So workflow after, right, you receive recall. We do, like I said, recall match. We automatically build work orders. There's always a management in a loop to make a call in terms of, any of the details. Should we even build a work order or not build a work order? What's the priority? And then if it's a priority enough to build a work order, then that happens as well. And then the right team gets assigned, and then it kind of flows through the system as it should. So we take care of a lot of the labor costs in terms of the upfront for this kind of issue in the industry. And our recall management solution is called Recall Sentry, as we said before, right? So it's a targeted, detailed daily recall data by serial numbers, right? So we daily will look through many data sources, split them, and have them ready and uploaded to our system, and then running recall match. Then we match assets with these large organizations, and then that allows businesses to leverage ServiceNow processes with their teams to kind of then take care of any remediation and things like that. So with this kind of system, we have estimated approximately about 80% labor cost reduction in just this part of the recall remediation process these large organizations have. And we have our industries are around FM, of course, pharma and life sciences, cybersecurity, even a lot of cybersecurity challenges. We don't do scanning of systems, of course, but there's many other notifications from OEMs that actually happens that not something that's a scannable type of item. So we look at a lot of OEMs in the cybersecurity range industry, and of course, healthcare, and then. These asset categories include everything from, of course, control systems like Siemens and a lot of these other. Schindler is another big control systems manufacturer, HVAC, a lot of plumbing, electrical, of course, refrigeration, things like that on the FM side. Our system data sources range from regulatories, FDA, of course, CPSC, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, down to things like healthcare industry has a challenge with basically it doesn't really have a VIN. It has the start of something kind of called a VIN. So this access to UDID is another database that we ping to get this other number for those items. And then of course, just everyone else probably, right, do a lot of AWS, of course, ServiceNow and Novolo as well for the supported platforms. Our demo, I don't know if we have time for a demo. Do we have any time for a demo? Maybe not.
I would say go for it. If
okay.
I think we had the sound issue, so we've got about 10 minutes. Please feel free.
Sure. Let me attempt to log back in here. So this is a ServiceNow, of course. It might make me do all this logging in, which is always a challenge with all the extra security. Let's see how we can quickly do this. Fingers crossed that it's easy this time. Yeah, okay, here we go. So this is our dashboard. Currently looks like this. Again, this is for a healthcare client, right? And so we have open recalls. We have a walkthrough process, right, for remediation. They'll have different statuses, of course. So you can, if you want to unfilter by open, and I think for repairs, close, things like that. So here's some overall recall metrics. So here are all our recall events, and then our priority, the states of them created, UDI number, recall class, recall numbers. We also have in our KPIs and other metrics by vendor. So you can look by vendor, who's the heavy hitter vendor in terms of recalls, what's the most recalled model that they have at the system right now. And then, of course, you do the same thing with these pie charts in ServiceNow. You get down to some of the lower level recall events here. We also have by recall class and priority. So after the organization prioritizes them, we don't have a lot of high priority in this demo data here. The same idea. We do recall aging as well. So if you want to know how old some of the recalls are, and then run some other expedited kind of processes through some of these old recalls that are open, you'd be able to do that through a screen like this. And then if you want to know by location, so multiple locations, this is a very complex site. So this is multiple sites, multiple other sublocations. So it kind of looks a bit pie charty like that. But that's very quickly, that's kind of recall century in ServiceNow for now. And then if you were looking to a recall event, we have our process flow at the top. So it's very graphical for technicians and everyone else to kind of understand what's happening with this recall event, and then any associated recall work orders, which is this one right here. So if you click in here, again, this is just some of this is just plain old ServiceNow type of functionality. If it will update. There we go. And so this one just happens to be closed completed, right? And so there's a draft, work in progress. The tech might go through here, understand they have to test this unit, look at the asset, and then go through that, do that, and then they close it. And then, of course, anything around ServiceNow closing amounts to some cost and things like that that gets associated with the technician. And there you go. So that's our demo. I could switch back if I have a little time, perhaps. You guys tell me if I have any time or not. I don't want to go over. I just have a few slides left here.
Yeah, please do. Please do. I think it might be worthwhile for the audience. I don't know if you both have any stories of where you've experienced what, on the face of it, is an intractable data connection problem, and what you were able to do in order to resolve that and get the result that the client was looking for. I think if you've got a small case or what have you, I think the audience would love to hear that.
Yeah, Gabe, do you have anything?
Yep, I have a case that I can share here. Give me 1 second. You guys see this? Oh.
Perfect. Yep.
Is
Oh, it's going again.
And then we'll get there to the end. Yeah, so there was a construction company that we were talking to, and they mostly deal with retail clients and with multiple locations. And as an offering, outside of construction of these retail sites, they offer facilities management. And they work with a ton of third-party vendors to help them with any sort of work orders that they have. So it's not like they have in-house facility management. And so their processes were a little broken today as far as when work orders would come in under warranty or out of warranty, how do they manage it between their 10 project managers today, right? And it was a lot of time. They spent hundreds of hours taking work order data from various systems and putting it into their system data format, right? So they came to us and they said, how can we build can you guys help us automate and build a connector for them so they don't, again, have to swivel chair between these various systems, and all their project teams are aligned, right? Like that's kind of the key part. They had 10 different project managers that were doing 10 different processes. With this automation and this workflow, all of the project managers are now in sync with what gets automated and updated into their source of truth system. So it wasn't like there were a lot of complaints from people, various people to the management about how this was working. It kind of solidified, quite frankly, internally, all of these project managers or these admins that will handle these work orders in a more automated fashion. So all of the data that they would get is SLA turnaround times, errors were reduced, less truck rolls, unnecessary truck rolls, if you will, out for warranty projects. So it really has saved them a lot when it comes to efficiencies. And they're actually able to scale now even quicker with new customers as they're brought on, right? Because every new customer, and we're talking about service pros here, typically have a different system. So now they can kind of scale together with us. And now we're close partners, and they've even asked us to come and help do, other implementations and manage their other systems and start working with their accounting folks. So it's grown into a really good relationship with the service pros. So, that's kind of what we do. We'll start with some key pain points, right? Like we'll do an assessment with you that's no cost, kind of understand how you're working today and where the gaps are. And then we're not going to bloat, anything. We're just going to hit you with an MVP, right? Of here are the key data points that you need to integrate with. I think it took us a week or two for this specific customer to have test data running, which normally it's a week or two just to get it, just to lay out what the plan is. We're able to dive in quickly, so it's a really good use case there. Is that helpful? Can you guys hear me okay?
I think that's great. I think at least for me, when we go through this case study, it's not that long ago that these types of issues were the bane of our industry in getting systems to come together. We're so fragmented as an industry generally. There are a lot of there's a lot of different work order management systems that are available, some of which are not actually designed for FM, and we piggyback on. And if you just kind of keep scaling that up, that every service provider tends to have a system that suits them. Every client may have a system that suits them. And so unless we're all going to get onto a single unified system, I think the problem of disparate data and actually needing to connect those sources to improve workflow, that's always going to be there. So I think it's pretty amazing that we're actually now deploying products that allow that to happen and allow us to be successful despite ourselves. So very much appreciate both of you this afternoon. I know we had some technical issues along the way. I think pulled it together at the end, so that's I'm really pleased and glad that on day 2 we finished up talking about data connectivity. And so that's day 2 in the bag. And thank you, Mark. Thank you, Gabe. And thank you, everybody, for getting through day 2 of FM Tech Week 2025. Thank you all, and see you tomorrow.